Now, before you ask any question about this evacuation, I think there should be you should be aware of one thing, that we knew what was going on, but during the entire years that we were in camp, we tried to make the best out of whatever was happening. Before camp, we was like most families. We were all very close together. I had 3 older sisters and 1 younger brother, and parents, of course. And it was a nice family that, like any ordinary family would, enjoying ourselves as we were growing up. So it was a happy years during those days.
The political climate leading up to Pearl Harbor was pretty intense. I mean, there was this war brewing, right? And so there was this hysteria over attacks going on.
We had a neighborhood grocery store in the Queen Anne district, where we operated all year round, of course. And my dad had a produce house where this would be seasonal. All the farmers around, the truck farmers around Seattle would bring their crops in.
The Issei, or the first generation that came over, they couldn't become citizens, so for sure they weren't American. But the second generation, the American-born children of the Issei immigrants, they were American citizens, but they were still not considered fully American, right? Japanese first, and then, American was secondary.
And there are very few Japanese families there, so all my friends were Caucasians.
The causes and circumstances that led to the president signing Executive Order 9066 was war hysteria, race prejudice, and a failure of political leadership.
At first, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I did know that we were going to be moved to where, I don't know.
They didn't have very much time to figure out, what are we going to do with our personal belongings? What are we going to do with our pets? Where are we going, and how long are we going to stay?
Many people may think that we were evacuated right from where we were in, say, living in Seattle, right to these concentration camps, which was not so, because it took time for the government to build these camps.
They were brought to the Puyallup Fairgrounds, and they called it Camp Harmony. And I think it's kind of a little disingenuous that they called it Camp Harmony, because it was far from being harmonious.
The family had always been very important. In camp, you didn't have that kind of, the father of the family was not the head of the household.
Before the war, we all depended upon my dad, who was doing all the work. When the war came, I didn't depend on my parents for food, whereas before camp in Seattle, of course, I depended on them for everything. And in camp, the only thing that they helped me do was my mother or my older sisters would wash my clothes, of course. That was it. But other than that, I didn't need them at all. When they were ready to close the camp, they said, anybody that wants to go east, we'll give you a ticket by train or bus, whatever you want, to anywhere in the United States you want to go, and give each person $25 cash. And that's when we all went back. Just this nice feeling. I don't know, to you it may sound funny, but just to know that you have this feeling of being free to do whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go, it was a good feeling.
The dispersion was kind of varied, just depended.
We did not, as far as I was concerned, we did not have any sort of discrimination in places like Chicago or the cities east. It's amazing that many of them didn't even know that evacuation occurred during the war. I lived in Chicago too long, because I turned 18 that year, the same year. And of course, I waiting for the draft. It was the army life for me after that. Our siblings were distributed throughout, like, for example, I was in Kansas. My kid brother was in Germany teaching English there. My sister was in Hawaii, married. My other sister was in Ohio. And my one sister was in LA, the Los Angeles area. So all 5 of us were separated throughout the world. And it was only when my kid brother, Sonny, came down with cancer that my older sister said, we got to get together. So for the first time, about 50 years later, and for that one time, and that was the last time we were together.
I think the essence of the Japanese Americans and the Japanese is you don't blame other people. You just keep moving on.
Right? You learn from the lessons of history and the resilience of a community. But that resilience, I mean, that, you know, that came at a cost, right? And so what do we owe that first community or the second Issei, Nisei? Well, we owe it to them to understand what happened and to not be re-victimized, but to say, okay, then what is our responsibility today?
I'm going to make sure that people could hear about what happened to us before we're gone. Our generation is gone. Many of our generations is gone now.
If people don't remember what happened back then, the causes and the circumstances, and don't understand how the country got to I guess, a wholesale violation of entire group of people's rights, yeah, it could happen again. And to know, you know, about those kinds of things, you have to do something. You have to stand up.
So our motto was, not again. That's it.
I've lived among them for 10 years, and I can testify that they are as different from ourselves as any people on this planet.
Nearly 180,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records ordered deported from our country are tonight roaming free to threaten peaceful citizens.